TED Talks, brought to you by Erbs and Gerbs. Go online and check out their delightful sandwich menus and soups. Order yourself something today.
Ted Schwerzler here for another TED Talks at TL Schwerzler on Twitter, Twins Daily. Trade deadline edition. Man, what a anticlimactic trade deadline it was for Minnesota. Looking for a right-handed bat, looking for a left-handed reliever, looking for relief help at all. The Twins did nothing. Derek Falvey, Thad Levine did nothing. And immediately after the deadline, news comes out that Brock Stewart had suffered a setback, which completely makes sense given that his agency had suggested it was just routine maintenance that he was being shut down for. We're now roughly a couple weeks out from the All-Star game, and he has not been activated, not gone on a rehab assignment, none of the above. Brock Stewart, unfortunately, has had a significant amount of arm issues over the years and is now dealing with another one. On top of that, Alex Kirilloff, who was recently placed on the injured list for Minnesota, underwent an MRI today as he's dealing with a shoulder issue, and they don't know where he is at either. So on top of both of those things making the Major League roster worse, Minnesota went out and added nothing. Pretty confusing trade deadline. The Twins front office really is suggesting, hey, the guys in the clubhouse, we believe in the team that we assembled this offseason, and you guys need to show up, which is a fair stance given the underperformance for Joey Gallo, Carlos Correa, Byron Buxton, name your player. But the acquisitions that they could have or needed to make at the deadline should have cost next to nothing. Relievers can be had for very little prospect capital. A right-handed bat shouldn't have cost too much either. So Minnesota doing nothing at the trade deadline really does not make sense. Cleveland didn't go in full sell mode. Ahmed Rosario has not been good for them this year, so him being moved to the Dodgers does open up a spot for some of their young prospects. But Aaron Savale, obviously they traded him at his peak while he's dealt with injuries and whatnot. They got a decent return in Manzardo from the Rays. The problem is they already have Josh Naylor at first base. They did trade Josh Bell today for Khalil Watson, which seemingly is quite a return. Watson was formerly a top 25 prospect. He's fallen out of favor with the Marlins, but Cleveland didn't add to a team that is currently competing with the Twins, and both of the teams atop the AL Central kind of are looking at each other like, hey, who's going to go win this? Minnesota wasn't going to add anything that would have been earth-shattering or made them a surefire World Series contender, but they could have added pieces that would have helped to bridge the gap in the postseason, and they just didn't do that. The Twins should still be expected to win the division. They probably will host a home playoff series, but it's just a very peculiar deadline to not add anything. Just very odd. The Twins will go into the offseason probably looking to retool the roster regardless of how the postseason goes. They still have a glut of left-handed outfielders. It just shakes up as a very weird deadline for Minnesota to not do anything. The hope would be that they can win games against one of the easiest schedules in baseball down the stretch, but remains to be seen. So we'll check in next week.